WeatherScope is sponsored by the legendary Firebird Trans Am from Pontiac.
This is WeatherScope.
Winds gusting over 35 miles an hour are buffeting Montauk Point, New York. Winds reaching up to 40 miles an hour in New York City, with sleet reported in northern sections of New Jersey. It's the northern edge of a storm that dumps snow and heavy rain across the mid-Atlantic states. Good morning and welcome to this edition of WeatherScope. I'm Cheryl Lemke. Thick snow in the Appalachians, heavy rain, and high winds across the Atlantic coast. All from the same storm system. The storm now is on its way to the north, and it continues to cause problems. And for the latest on the storm system, let's go to Bruce Edwards in the Forecast Center. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Cheryl, and good morning, everyone. It's a wild Wednesday across the central Appalachians. There's good news, bad news. The good news is the snow in the mountains of North Carolina has just about ended. The not so good news is the winds have not. They're going to be brisk, and that snow is sort of like a wet, heavy snow Velcro holding on to all the tree limbs. So that means those winds could topple some of those tree limbs on top of power lines, and that will just compound the problems they're facing across the southern and central Appalachians this morning. Let's take a look at the satellite picture, and as that cranks up, again, you can see the area of low pressure in the upper atmosphere down here, and the circulation of the cloud cover and the moisture around it coming in off the Atlantic. We're talking about strong, gusty winds here, pumping in the moisture, and it is just so critical, the temperature. We're talking just a narrow area, just in the high mountainous areas of snow right in this area of the mountains. We're talking otherwise rain here, and even rain on the other side of the Appalachians around Pittsburgh and to Charleston, West Virginia. But I'll tell you, when it's raining, it's coming down very, very heavily, especially as the moisture wraps around. You got the low here and the high here, so it's bringing east to northeasterly winds, very strong, very powerful, and as we mentioned, it's going to be a blustery day all the way from New England down, even into North Florida. You're going to get some pretty gusty winds still even well south of the front. But it's also pumping in some moisture. Now, as that moisture comes inland, it gets temperatures hovering near the freezing mark, and it becomes mixed with a little bit of sleet from time to time. But once again, that snow area is just in the highest peaks of the Appalachians. There is rain off to the west, and there is rain to the east, and plenty of that, especially as you get into Chesapeake Bay. Now, as you look at the temperatures, still snowing Elkins, West Virginia, 33 degrees. So again, it just sort of tells you it's probably a very heavy, wet snow indeed. Even Elmira, New York's at 31. You see New York City at 34, same in Philly and D.C. 38. So again, temperature's not a big problem here. As we look at the radar, though, we do see the heavy rain just pummeling parts of the Maryland shore and southern Delaware. Salisbury, Maryland's had almost 3 inches of rain. It is still coming down very, very heavily at the present time in Salisbury and also around the nation's capital. And then once again, you get into that snow band running through here. Now, there has been a little bit of freezing rain and drizzle being reported up near Philadelphia and around Westchester. And then as you work your way up towards Allentown, Pennsylvania, a little freezing rain. As we close into the New York City metro area, now some of this moisture is making it here onto Long Island. Now at JFK, they're reporting a mixture of rain and a few sleet pellets. Same story at Framingham out on the island, but then you get to Islip, some moderate rain being reported at the present time. So Poughkeepsie, White Plains have been seeing a little bit of rain now, a little freezing rain earlier, and as you can see, stiff easterly to northeasterly winds pumping in that moisture, and look at how heavy it is now around Dover, Delaware, as this moisture continues to pummel in with some sleet, as Cheryl mentioned, across northern Jersey. Very heavy rain in this part of the northeast corridor, Baltimore, Washington area, into the Chesapeake Bay vicinity towards Richmond, Virginia. Roanoke reporting some moderate rainfall. We're talking 1 to 3 inch of rainfall amounts already, still more on the way. But once again, once you get up into the higher terrain here, this is where we're talking about the snow in this area of the mountains with the heavy rains. Once again, Chesapeake Bay in the northeast corridor, and then just plain old rain back here towards Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at times mixed with a little bit of snow. The forecast calls for 3 to 6 inches of snow in that narrow band along the spine of the Appalachians, 1 to 3 elsewhere for today, and it'll be windy, it will be wet. Mainly looking in the northeast quarter, just plain old rain here, just that narrow band in the mountains where we expect the snow. Now, as you head farther south, you're still going to see strong winds out of the north-northwest, and again, that could cause problems in the mountains as far as knocking down some tree limbs and taking out some power lines around Asheville and Hickory and up through that part of the Smoky Mountains, while the rest of the southeast is going to have plain old wind to contend with. and that'll take the edge off somewhat comfortable temperatures across much of that region today. So again, hold on to the fedora. It will be a bit blustery, bright, brisk, and breezy, but temperatures fairly comfortable, about 59 in Atlanta for today. So that's the situation up and down the eastern seaboard. Some active weather going on. And remember, if you're heading off to work and you get to the computer at work, pick us up on weather.com to find out the latest on the storm. Now with the latest on the nation's weather elsewhere, here's Cheryl.
Well, there's more rain ahead for the Pacific Northwest and light snow for the upper Midwest later on today. As we check out the surface map, we can see a low pressure area working its way through the nation's heartland. And it has been touching off some light snow and some patchy freezing drizzle. There's been some freezing drizzle, in fact, around Bismarck and Williston, North Dakota. Nothing too terribly heavy, but it may be kind of a nuisance type of thing as you're heading to work or school. I think our biggest concern, though, thus far this morning is the fog. It's very soupy this morning from Minnesota all the way back to the Hoosier State. Still dense fog advisories remain in effect. It's been pretty bad around Bloomington, Indiana, over through Terre Haute.